Just weeks after his high-profile and much dissected and debated visit to Russia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a day-long visit to Ukraine on the 23rd of August. And before that, he will be in Poland for 2 days starting tomorrow. At a press conference, the Ministry of External Affairs said Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be undertaking an official visit to Poland this week on the 21st and 22nd of August on the invitation of Prime Minister Donald Tusk. This is a landmark visit as the Prime Minister of India is visiting Poland after 45 years. This visit takes place as we also mark the 70th anniversary of the establishment of our diplomatic relations. On the Prime Minister's Ukraine visit, the MES said Prime Minister Modi will undertake an official visit to Ukraine on Friday, the 23rd of August, on the invitation of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This is also a landmark and a historic visit, since this will be the first time an Indian Prime Minister will be visiting Ukraine in more than 30 years since we established our diplomatic relations. This visit will build upon the recent high-level interactions between the two leaders. Prime Minister Modi had met Zelensky in Italy on the sidelines of the G7 summit in June. Last month, Mr. Modi met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow, reiterating India's stand on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The MES said, and I quote, India has maintained a very clear and consistent position that diplomacy and dialogue can resolve this conflict and that can lead to enduring peace. So dialogue is absolutely essential. Lasting peace can only be achieved through options that are acceptable to both parties, and it can only be a negotiated settlement. On our part, India continues to engage with all stakeholders. Prime Minister Modi has had conversations with leaders of both Russia and Ukraine, and the Prime Minister also visited Russia recently. India is willing to provide all possible support and contribution required to help find peaceful solutions to this complex issue, and at this stage it is not for us to anticipate or prejudge what the outcome of these discussions will be between the leaders of India and Ukraine. That's what the ME's statement said. As we mentioned, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to travel to Ukraine, becoming the first Indian leader to visit the war-torn country in about 30 years. Some argue he has good reasons to try and placate Kiev and its Western allies. Kiev is due to welcome the Indian Prime Minister on the eve of Ukrainian Independence Day and just over a month after Mr. Modi visited Moscow, raising the hackles of Ukraine and the West. The visit could evoke mixed feelings amongst his Ukrainian hosts. India has maintained close ties with Russia despite the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 at the risk of significant irritation to Kiev and while Prime Minister Modi has called for peace, he has also refused to directly hold the Kremlin responsible for the war. This was illustrated during his trip to Russia in the month of July and his meeting with President Vladimir Putin, which coincided with Moscow's deadly attack on a Ukrainian children's hospital. The Indian Prime Minister responded with a carefully worded statement saying, when innocent children are killed, the heart bleeds and the pain is terrifying. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky had then described Prime Minister Modi's visit to Russia as a disappointment. He said, and I quote, in a scathing comment, he said it is a huge disappointment and a devastating blow to peace efforts to see the leader of the world's largest democracy hug the world's most bloody criminal in Moscow on a day such as this. The MEA says India has substantive and independent ties with both Russia and Ukraine, and these partnerships stand on their own. As we said, India has maintained a consistent stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, underlining the need for dialogue and diplomacy to resolve differences. During various international forums, India has refrained from taking sides, instead urging both parties to come to the negotiating table. The neutral stance has allowed India to maintain its strategic autonomy, enabling it to engage with both Russia and Ukraine. In this context, Mr. Modi's visit will be seen as a continuation of India's efforts to promote peace. By directly engaging with the Ukrainian leadership, Prime Minister Modi is reinforcing India's message that the conflict's resolution lies in diplomacy, not warfare. This approach aligns with India's long-standing foreign policy principles, which prioritize non-alignment and peaceful coexistence, though many now describe it as multi-alignment. Experts say this visit is a balancing act for India, which also gives New Delhi a chance to urge peace negotiations. But Indian diplomacy has to maintain a difficult balance. As for the Prime Minister's visit to Poland, remember, Poland has the 6th largest economy in the European Union. Poland will hold the next presidency of the Council of the European Union. The India-Poland bilateral trade is worth $6 billion, which makes Poland India's largest trading partner in Central and Eastern Europe. Indian investments in Poland are estimated at around $3 billion, while Polish investments in India are at around $1 billion. There's also a sizable Indian community in Poland, estimated at around 25,000, including 5,000 students. The MEA said on Monday, you may recall that the government and people of Poland had offered valuable assistance during Operation Ganga for the evacuation of Indian students from Ukraine. More than 4,000 Indian students were evacuated via Poland at that time.